But a lot of what we're doing is creating an entirely new career pathway for people with developmental disabilities. So we actually now employ instructors with developmental disabilities to run the classes.
Hi, I'm Shantae, and welcome to Parenting Special Needs Live. Does your loved one struggle with getting enough exercise? Well, if they're like many of our kiddos, um, you're in luck because today we're speaking with Keegan Johnson. He's the dad to Dante, who has special needs, including Prader Willi. And together they've come up with a solution and co founded Let's Go Fitness, an online fitness community for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And today we've asked him here to talk with us about Let's Go Fitness, how it helped his son, and how it's creating an entirely new career path for people with intellectual disabilities. So please help me in welcoming Keegan to the show. Welcome, Keegan. How are you? I'm so glad to have you here.
Hi, Shantae. Thanks for having us. I'm super excited to have this discussion with yourself. I've been looking forward to it and ready to go.
All right, so let's start. So tell us, how did you, let's start at the beginning. How did you start Let's Go Fitness? Like, why?
Yeah, the how and the why. It actually started kind of right in the middle of the pandemic. So, as a lot of your readers will be able to relate to, he was going to school, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and then all of a sudden he was at home. So there was a lot of challenges related to that. And we actually had a cousin came over, back in the pandemic where you could still have people come over, and having a conversation. And he actually asked to borrow some weights, the cousin. So we said, sure, here's some weights. Dante, who's my son, was there. And, there was an opportunity. And, as parents, we always look for opportunities and say, hey, Dante, do you want to, try these little weights? And he took up the 5-pound weights. And we said, why don't you do like 10 bicep curls? So he did 10 bicep curls with the 5 pounds, and we made a big deal of it. So then what we did is we actually connected him with his cousin, again, because we had that opportunity over the internet and there was time. And they decided that they were going to work out at the same time every day. And as you and your readers will relate to, scheduling and consistency is everything. So they ended up having their little time that they were going to work out online. And then a couple pretty amazing things started to happen. So the first thing is, and this is super important, Dante started to realize that he could improve, right? And so he did, 3 exercises, and then we tried to add an exercise every week, and then he did 4 exercises. And then all of a sudden, he's like coming into our room at like 6 a.m. and saying, Dad, I'm going to work out. And, this week I'm going to add the shoulder press. We're like, oh, that's great, Dante. So that started to change. And then the next big thing is he started to see his body change. And this is one of the, as we've sort of, started to understand more about this, is one of the fundamental areas of improvement, really understanding that you can actually change yourself and change your body. And so he has Prader Willi syndrome. And as there's a lot of challenges that go with that, low muscle tone, as well as, this constant hunger. They're kind of never full. And so it leads in a lot of cases unchecked to, unfortunately, our children being morbidly obese. So he had actually worked out over 200 days in a row, and we were blown away. And he came to me and he said, Dad, I want to lose some weight. And that was sort of unheard of in this community. We were really surprised, but he had noticed that he could change his body in these ways through the exercise. So he wanted to extend that. So, we supported him in that endeavor. It wasn't, completely by himself, but he ended up losing 50 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And then, kind of the next crazy thing happened in terms of, we were posting on social media, proud parents, this is what Dante's doing. We're excited about it. And then what happened is we had a few other parents who had children with developmental disabilities ask and say, hey, can Dante work out with my son, or can Dante work out with my daughter? So we said, sure, yeah, no problem. We hooked them up over the internet. They did a couple workouts. And then this is the real special part that happened is, as you know, and as your readers will understand, when our children get towards the end of high school, it's this feeling of kind of like dropping off a cliff. And it's this worry because in that school environment, you have adults that care about them. You have sort of a built-in social structure. There's generalized purpose and meaning. You have a schedule, and then it's all gone. And so Dante was heading towards the end of high school, and I know my wife and I were, very concerned about, what's going to come next. So we had talked to Dante. We just talked about, just you're helping people. Just, try and help people. And so he came to me one day and he said, "Well, Dad, so if I'm helping people, what sort of job is that?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's a fitness trainer." And I'll never forget, he said, "Is being a fitness trainer a good job?"
Wow.
And I was blown away. I said, "It's a great job." And then he said, "I think I want to be a fitness trainer."
Oh my God, you guys! I'm sorry. I mean, I'm so
And
Oh,
that was effectively the moment when Let's Go Fitness was launched. So my mind, I have sort of an entrepreneurial background, and I said, I think I need to start something so that he can become a fitness trainer. And that's the
wow.
beginning of Let's Go Fitness.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story. Wow. And I love that it came from him.
Yeah, it really is the foundation for everything we do. And you mentioned it before, but a lot of what we're doing is creating an entirely new career pathway for people with developmental disabilities. So we actually now employ instructors with developmental disabilities to run the classes.
Wow.
And so all of our classes, we have what we call as a certified coach. So, internationally certified, typically developed, who are sort of overseeing the class, in terms of safety, providing all the accommodations, modifications. But at the same time, we're putting front and center our Let's Go Fitness instructors who typically have developmental disabilities to represent and lead the class.
Wow,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, it it changes the entire dynamic because a lot of our athletes who are joining, they see someone that they can relate to in that leadership position. And our job in terms of Let's Go Fitness is, allowing that person to lead um, based on their abilities to the extent that they can. So sometimes our instructors are just sort of demonstrating the exercises and counting, and that's it. And running the class, doing all the accommodations and modifications is being done by the certified coach. But we have other instructors who are able to do a lot more, right? And they may be engaging verbally, they may be leading the class, they may be calling out accommodations, and we love that. So this is the other thing I'm super excited about. We've actually launched a certification program specifically for people with developmental disabilities. So we have 3 levels of certification, and right at the beginning, I mean, we're talking about basic job skills. You got to show up to the class. You got to be there on time. This is how you would communicate with the class, as well as all the fitness side, talking about the exercises, the muscles, and we work them through 3 different levels, and that leads to us, hiring them as Let's Go Fitness instructors.
Wow, that is so fantastic. I'm thrilled. So I have a question because I knew about you guys only, from this interview. But what about I'm throwing a curveball at you, but what about if you had a person that was kind of nonverbal but loves fitness? And I'm saying this for a friend because she's getting ready to fall off the cliff soon, and I see her potential because I love to see the potential in all of our kids. So to me, she loves Zumba. She loves all these things, but she doesn't speak. So is there a way that she could also kind of get certified? Have you even gone that route yet, or could you develop something?
Yeah, so absolutely. So what we do is accommodations and modifications. So everybody's coming at it from a different way. We have, athletes who use wheelchairs, right? And that's a completely different pathway. We have athletes, we actually have deaf athletes, which is another area that we work through. And what we do is right up front is we go through a discovery session, right? And so our whole idea is we want to discover what you can do. And because I know as a parent, it's like to think about another assessment and someone else to say, oh, by the way, you can't do this and this and this and this. It just, it gets overwhelming. And it's like, I just, to go to another appointment is just emotionally challenging. And so we like to say, let's discover what you can do.
Yeah, I
And
love
there's
that.
a lot of times that, our athletes and our children can do a lot more than we thought they could, if provided the right supports. So in terms of a non-verbal instructor starting out as an athlete and then moving to instructor, that's amazing. I mean, we're doing classes over Zoom. Non-verbal athlete can show up and can go through all the exercises, demonstrating them to the class. There's no challenge with that. And because we always have the support, we have a certified coach. So if we need to provide verbal instruction to the class, the certified coach can be doing that. But at the same time, just because someone's nonverbal doesn't mean they can't communicate.
Well, oh, of course
And
not.
I know you and your readers are familiar with it, but that's what's missed by a lot of the population, right? So we could have the nonverbal athlete communicating already with signs that have been prepared, right? To hold up and saying, hey, now we're doing bicep curl. Why not? Okay, here's the sign for shoulder press. So there's a lot of things we could do. And that's a long way of saying, yes, we would love to help support all the athletes out there that are nonverbal.
And it doesn't matter where anybody lives, right? They can come,
Yeah, no, we're, there's a lot of challenges that came out of COVID and the pandemic, but one of the, I think, great things is we realized just how much we can do, through the internet. And it's actually really a great way for our community, because I know with my son, and I know a number of others, that whole transitioning thing is very challenging. And to think I have to leave this environment, get ready, go to this other environment for this assessment or whatever, and then come back, that's a big challenge in itself. And we have athletes that, are doing something totally different. Oh, it's 3:00 time for my class. They'll click on the link on their iPad, computer, phone, whatever it is. They join the class, parents have half an hour to, catch your breath or cook dinner or whatever while their child is actually, working out online. And then after that half an hour, they click close and they're done. No transition necessary.
No, and I love it too. It's not just the transition, but also as the adults get older, transportation is a huge issue, because if the parents aren't running them around, or if they don't have a companion, how do they get around? I mean, bus services are great, but sometimes they're not available. So that's another,
Yeah, absolutely.
for you guys, what you're doing. So let's make sure I covered most of the stuff we wanted to talk about. So, and what are the costs for the class? We didn't really mention that, but I mean, if I wanted to, could I sign my daughter up if I wanted to have her try it out?
Absolutely. So we work in kind of two different environments. So we work directly with athletes, and that's what we call everyone's an athlete, wherever they come from. And that's kind of like a Peloton type model, right? So we have drop-in classes 7 days a week, whether it's sort of pure fitness, sort of weightlifting, whether it's Zumba, yoga, whatever it is. So the prices right now, I know
You don't have to necessarily give prices. We can have them linked to your site. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable, I don't.
No, I'm comfortable sharing the prices, but we're changing all the time. So that's, but the prices at present, because we work really hard. We know that a lot of families, sometimes are on fixed income, especially because it could be an adult. We're not always talking about,
Right.
school-age kids. It could be an adult with a developmental disability who's your son, who's on a fixed income. So we have sort of a $20 a month, open, and you can attend all the classes, whatever you want. And then if you sign up for a year, it's $200 for the entire year. So you can come to all the classes you want for $200. So we make it as affordable as possible. I'll also say we also have private classes that we run. And the private classes are usually for schools or for group homes.
Okay.
So if there's a school that signs up, we could run classes for them twice a week, usually about half an hour a session. And for those, we put together the custom price for the group home or the school based on, how many students, how many classes, and those types of things.
Okay, great. And is that all on your website?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Because I was thinking, yeah, that is fabulous especially for a lot of the adult day training centers that are, that our kids go to quite a bit. That'd be great for people to know about that it exists. Else that I didn't ask that you wanted to share about?
To talk about, I mean, I think from our point of view, putting that person with a developmental disability front and center is a big part of it. The other thing that maybe we didn't touch on is we talk a lot about fun, friends, and fitness. And again, this is being very individual with our athletes, where we have that discovery session, because athletes are coming from a lot of different positions. And some of our athletes, the most important thing for them is that they show up and they laugh, right? And that's it, right? So we need to find out how we can, make them laugh for that 30-minute session. Others, obviously the fitness is, sort of underpinning it all, and that's the driver. Some are really interested, in the fitness and seeing the changes in their body. But the other big one, we always say our 3 F's are fun, friends, and fitness. And it's the friend side, where again, it can be very challenging for our children to make those sort of social connections. And especially when you leave high school, all of a sudden that sort of built-in structure is gone. What we find a lot now is our athletes are super excited because at Monday at 3:00, they're having a workout with their friends, right? And we have athletes that just show up and they're chatting with their friends, and they've got that in their schedule a couple times a week. And that's, the most important thing to them that's going on. So it's those friendships that we're creating as well, which is super important.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. Thank Dante, please, because that was a great idea. He, and congratulations to him for doing what he's doing. That's awesome. And we're gonna sign off now, but thank you all for being with us today on Parenting Special Needs Live. And in case no one has told you, you're doing a good job. It's hard work. Be good to you. Talk to you soon.